And following on from the irate bear and new contributor to Radio Free UK, we go to a more established contributor with Jake the Writer, and his item for this week, Memory Nearly Full.
This week's podcast from Jake the Writer. Retired travel writer, journalist, author and commentator shares some of his memories before he forgets. I call it Memory Almost Full. I've lost my car keys. I've searched everywhere. It doesn't matter. I won't need them until I remember where I've left the car. That's a joke, rather like my chum telling me that he's modifying his stair lift to speed it up. That way he can get upstairs so fast he will be there before he forgets what he went up for. Memory. It bothers all of us of a certain age. That's when we remember to think about it. I was starting to believe that I'd cracked it. My iPhone was proving quite a lifesaver, and I can use it to leave myself notes, and I can either write or leave a voice reminder with an alarm to jog my failing brain. I also have an app called Find My Car. I can even take a photograph, if it will help me. Great, but not a great deal of help if I've left the phone in my car, and that's another nasty habit that I've also developed. I've tried other ways to improve my failing mind by developing new habits in addition to my nasty ones. I've placed a large bowl in my favourite chair, which is proving useful for the I've lost it syndrome. I routinely use it for my wallet, reading glasses, house and car keys, cell phone and cash change. I keep the bowl in exactly the same place, and I'm now in the habit of going there first. Before that is accusing my good-tempered wife of moving my lost item, the ones that I know that I've placed in my bowl. It should work. After all, they can train mice and dogs, so surely I can train myself. I've now got so bad that my family and friends are convinced that I suffer from OCD. In fact, I'm beginning to worry a bit about it myself. I work out in the gym every day, and I've got into the habit of going at the same time each day, parking in the same spot if I'm able to, even trying to use the same locker. All of my kit is in its proper place in my gym bag. All of this would be acceptable to someone of my great age if it worked. However, in the past few weeks, I've left the token which I used in place of a £1 coin for my locker on 5 separate occasions. I'm far too embarrassed to ask if anyone has handed them in. I've left my goggles and earplugs after a swimming session. Last week I got changed in the dressing room and did not realise that I was going upstairs to the gym in bare feet until I stubbed my toe and had to return to the locker for my trainers. On 3 occasions I've got upstairs without my drinks bottle and gone back downstairs for it. I'm sure that climbing up and down stairs is great exercise. This morning I was on a cross trainer before I realised I'd left my iPod in my locker. I'm just wondering how long it will be before I get into the spa after my gym session, sans swimming trunks. And more to the point, if I can convince anyone that it's just my memory that's at fault before I finish up on the sex offenders list. Surely the cops would believe me that my memory was the second thing that went once I become aged. If that statement missed its mark, then your memory is worse than mine. My chums are a sarcastic bunch, and so after an early morning gym workout over breakfast, one asked how I picked a subject to blog about, and I just told him that I just wrote what was in my mind on that particular time, a bit like a butterfly flitting between flowers. Another of the ironic group immediately came back more like a blowfly going from dung heap to cowpat. As an old guy, I can often cover up my forgetfulness by saying that my memory's almost full. However, I do have a lot of memories stored in my filing cabinet of a brain. One such is filed under Sailor's Dit from some 60 years ago. To set the scene, 2 very green Royal Navy snotties, that's a midshipman, learning to be officers and gentlemen, were setting off to go sightseeing on a run ashore in Gibraltar. In those days, all naval servicemen had to wear their number 1 uniforms ashore. In fact, civilian clothes were not allowed on board. Gibraltar is a fairly small place, and our huge aircraft carrier with a complement of 1,500 officers and crew overwhelmed it. My shipmate Warwick and I walked through the dockyard gates and went into a small stone-built urinal close to the gates. We were standing at the long, very smelly trough. Before we could perform, in staggered a very, very drunk 3-badge killick. That's a leading seaman with at least 12 years' service. On seeing us, he stamped to attention and saluted. Neither of us was in a position to return the salute, so I muttered, "Carry on." He staggered forwards and joined us at the trough. As he began to urinate, he was swaying about and muttering in a broad Glaswegian accent, and suddenly indicated a piece of electrical conduit piping that was sticking out of the wall just above his head. It was probably where a lamp had been attached. In his rough Gorbals intonation, he challenged us to a pissing contest and began to urinate up the wall, flicking it towards the pipe. Bang! The conduit was live. The Scotsman was hurled backwards across the room to end up unconscious against the far wall. I saw that Warwick had peed down his trouser leg and all over his shiny shoes. I left him with the sailor, who we found was still breathing, and ran to the dockyard gate, where there was a police post. When we got back, I found that Hooky had come round, and in spite of his charred bell-bottoms, appeared to be feeling no pain. An ambulance took the injured man to the hospital. Warwick and I were taken back to the ship by a Royal Naval patrol, where we had to explain to the officer of the day as to why we were associating with a member of the lower deck, especially a drunken one. The following day, my friend and I successfully had a run ashore and went to the top of the rock to see the Barbary apes. Unimpressed by the smelly things, we returned back down into the town. We decided that a cool glass of shandy would be acceptable, and we went into the first pub that we found. It was teeming with our ship's crew. Warwick suddenly said, "I think we should leave," indicating a very inebriated Scottish leading hand who was carefully manoeuvring with a very full pint of beer and negotiating through the crowd. Warwick and I had quickly downed our drinks, and we were nearly at the door when we saw our man bump hard into a Royal Marine, covering him with beer. And to make matters worse, he said in a loud voice, "I'm sorry, soldier." Now, no one calls a Royal Marine soldier and expects to retain his teeth. I saw the look on the Marine's face and saw him taking off his belt, wrapping it round his fist, while 3 of his fellow Marines were surrounding the unlucky sailor. We left in a hurry, and as we got out, we saw the front window of the pub explode into the street. We were nearly back at the dockyard gates when we heard the bell of the RM patrol wagon, and we strolled through the gates and smartly saluted the naval guard, who presented arms as we marched away. There's a little green urinal just to north of Waterloo, and another further up. There's a member of the army. Attention on the upper deck, face aft and salute. That's all for this week. Thanks for listening. I'll be back, same place, next week, if I remember, that is.